My name is Jamie Stanton, and I am a senior director here at Q4. Today, we will be talking about how to harmonize your IR tech stack for a successful earnings lifestyle. In today's session, we're going to cover various topics around earnings, including an IRO's perspective, different technology and tools, as well as what the future state of earnings will look like. We'll also leave time at the end for questions. At this time, I'd like to give the opportunity for my fellow panelists to introduce themselves. Ed, why don't we start with you?
Thank you, Jamie. It's great to be on this call. I've been an investor relations officer for over 22 years now, specialty in small cap, had a lot of experience in pharmaceutical, biotech, and technology, and have been with Q4 for the past 6 months, have been a long time user of Q4 products, and have been with the using Q4 since 2015. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ed. And Jay, how about yourself?
Nice to meet you. My name is Jay Vaidya. So I've been with Q4 for about 9 years. First 8 was on the activation side. So it's a team that actually builds out the websites. Built about 150 websites myself, and then moved over to a team lead role. And in the last year, moved across to the marketing group to have conversations with prospects and clients that are looking to upgrade, right-size them into products that we have in the suite, and just generally explaining how the process works to bring them on board.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining me. So let's start out with an IRO's perspective. So Ed, what are the main things you're looking at as you're preparing for earnings?
Thanks, Jamie. So I think before you begin, you really want to understand what are the key messages that you want the audience to leave with. And for me, I've always thought that if you could pick out 3 key items that you want to have the investors take away and really repeat that message, it's so important that people understand 3 key things and then they walk away. And then from that, I really identify what are the analysts' concerns and what are the issues that they have ahead of time. In speaking to fellow IRO, she said to me, she knows ahead of time what her CEO, her CFO, the questions that they're going to ask. And I think it's really important to understand and get that feeling before you begin the process of what are going to be the key issues you're going to be dealing with. And from that, analyzing the analyst estimates to understand using the actual results that you've been given. Did you beat? Did you miss? Or were you on target? And from that, I look specifically at what looked good and what was really challenging for the company, and to have to deal with those issues ahead of time. And then it's important to put yourself in context. What are the macro issues that are impacting, the global economy? Right now, are we on pause holding interest rates? What are those issues going to impact your results? And then looking specifically at the micro issues of the company is so important. And from that, I review past transcripts and I look at the specific analyst questions that came about. And all this is done ahead of time before the actual earnings. Jamie?
Awesome. Thanks, Ed. So now you've done all this preparation, you've done so much to get ready for the actual event. What's next in the process?
So I really want to work with my financial disclosure committee, and my message to IROs on this call is that if you're in a company that is maybe smaller and does not have a financial disclosure committee, work on setting one up. Look at your C-suite, look at members of the finance team, get a meeting and get a discussion. It's really important to understand your results from a whole holistic approach of everyone in the company. And maybe there's diamonds in the rough that you're not aware of that you can pull out and really use in that key messaging ahead of time. And then from that, looking at your MD&A and really working with the committee to understand and finalize everything ahead of time of drafting the press release. I then send out a save the date PR. And I think it's important to note that when you send out that save the date, you are going to now really get the market moving, and there'll be a lot more activity, a lot more trading in the stock. So it's important to do that. And you upload that, of course, onto your website. From that, I organize our video call, and I want to get all the specifics of a transparent video set up so that when we do launch our earnings call, it'll be in a video format. And then I use our CRM to target the analysts that are covering us and the analysts that we would like for future coverage to be participating on that call. And then from that, I draft our press release, our conference call script, and our earnings presentation. So this is the whole process that we go through at Q4.
Awesome. Thanks, Ed. Really appreciate you sharing that. I want to now pass it over to Jay, just to talk a little bit about how the website plays into this.
Thanks very much. So I think from a tech stack perspective, we need to look at your earnings lifecycle holistically and understand your day-to-day tasks to be done at that same time, and understand where there's an opportunity to either automate tasks or offload and sequence them with human resources. And the goal there is really to understand where you have overlapping demands for your time and look to schedule tasks ahead of time with tools to handle this work. And I understand for IROs, I know it's delegating these tasks is a bit daunting, but there is systems out there that allow you to maintain control, build in flexibility, swap out documents, change publishing times, and provide additional human support to execute these tasks. So within a website, there's four main updates that need to happen in quick succession, confidently and accurately and very quickly to stay within compliance. So I mean, there's the earnings press release that announces your financial results and unlocks that public data that you're looking to publish on your website. There's the financial statement filing there for fair disclosure, the compliance piece that's sending out to your governance bodies, SEC, for example. Then there's of course, executing the webcast, conference call, or video presentation. Status quo is quickly moving to adopting video, but we'd like to see more companies leverage that. And then updates to KPIs and figures throughout your website, at the About Us pages, your investor landing pages, those infographics that very quickly tell investors and analysts what's happening with your organization. We want to make sure those are accurate and up to date with your new data. With Q4's content management system, for example, in the Q4 platform, there's simple tools in there that allow us to complete all those jobs to be done. They're there. And we simply work with you and click through those options to create a plan or a run book. Updates can be set and staged well in advance. Preview systems and staging environments can be set with the data that can be executed with a button push or set it as a timer. In addition, for some of that content, we can actually hook it to a press release that's being sent out. So we're not hovering over a keyboard, waiting for the press release to be sent through the newswire. That press release is pulled in through the newswire automatically, added to your website, and then because of that timering system, we can publish the rest of the data after, and so we've got a safety net there. So a lot of that content is automated, and when we're on Q4, if we're running your events, we know that we can pull in your transcript and add it to those modules as well. On the press release and SEC filing, we leverage the Business Wire network. So the Business Wire NX network allows us to pull in that content in nearly real time, and more importantly, saves you that job to be done to check the columns of all your figures, making sure negatives don't turn into positives and numbers shifting into other columns or any formatting issues with the way that we're presenting our financial data. That could be a problem. On Business Wire, it's taking care of you. What you submit to the service is what shows up on your website, and it incorporates a number of multimedia functions that we think are effective as well, and quickly becoming the best in class. I've been speaking with a lot of prospects that are forced to manually publish this content at 4 a.m. before earnings calls, and this alleviates that burden and that anxiety of having to specifically keep up to that time. And it moves, as I mentioned, some of that content into the environment well in advance, leveraging those periods where we're not quite as busy, we're outside of those webcast times to get that content in. For events and webcasts, Q4 has dedicated teams for this. So updating key files to quarterly summary pages is quite simple. As I mentioned, if you have transcripts, they're coming from our own teams, so we can build in steps in our online pre-planned earnings playbook on the Q4 platform. Allows you to just rinse and repeat each quarter with confidence, but also to smooth out and improve your process, making it predictable and streamlined and effective each quarter. Hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, Jay. And really appreciate that. A ton of really good insight there. And I know you had spoke about kind of the connected power of Q4. So would you be able to talk a little bit about how you use desktop CRM and engagement analytics throughout this process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think most importantly, after you've run your event presentation, or this could be an investor day, it could be a sustainability or ESG day, you're really doing yourself a disservice if you're not reviewing all the data that's generated during that event and taking a look at how effective you were in initially inviting clients to your events, and then seeing who attended, and then what the sort of data exhaust is. So in addition to registration intent and attendees, which we think is kind of table stakes, there's valuable insight within the Q4 platform to understand who was there and what they were doing, and then taking that further to see how they're engaging with your website, and then in addition to durations, and then understanding whether they're engaged in other areas of your website. So are they downloading files? Are they visiting specific pages? You can start to understand what their interests are, whether they're opening emails for other pieces of content. All that is available at an arm's reach within Q4 platform. And then take it a step further. So within the same platform, you can start understanding what their position is in the company. And then what really allows you to get value from a website is just unlocking additional interactions, right? To help you target the right types of investors and drive valuation. Um, and then going a little bit further to understand what's happening outside of your four walls. So within that same system, understanding, giving some color to just what's happening at a macro level. So people within your same peer group, same sector, same market cap, we are able to see how they're performing in those same key important measures. So who's the website attendance performance, what the types of engagement is on the website itself, and then email opens. So it adds some color to how you're competing with your same peer group, and then we can work with the Q4's team to drive some campaigns to affect those numbers.
Thanks for sharing that, Jay. I know a lot of my clients have had a lot of success looking at attendee registration for new and good targets. So I'm really happy to hear that you're recommending that as a best practice.
Absolutely. Thanks.
I wanted to talk a little bit about events as well. I put this picture on the slide because I'm sure you're all familiar. The whole executive team sitting in a room around a Polycom, reading the earnings script. This experience uses decades old technology and leaves a lot to be desired. What we've had for a lot of best-in-class IR programs is actually video earnings. What we're seeing is that video technology is driving transparency between the buy side and the C-suite. We all communicate better on video. We've moved to this post-pandemic video world, and it's a really great way to communicate not only internally, but also externally to investors. What we're also hearing is that we're seeing investors that are perceiving management as actually more trustworthy, because when management is messaging to the buy side community, they're actually able to see them in person, and that body language comes through. This new technology is really changing how companies report earnings for the better and should definitely be considered by every IR program. Now, looking at the future state of earnings, Ed, maybe, I know you've been doing a lot of really cool stuff here at Q4. Maybe you could just talk a little bit about what you see as the future state for earnings.
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, this is really exciting. The past 6 months at Q4, working with the team members like Jay and so many others, we've had a lot of great opportunity to make the process so much more efficient and effective, and it's really exciting. And so I have a bunch of slides that I'll walk you through. Before I begin, it really is important for IROs out there that you understand that working with generative AI and open source, that you cannot put your actual material information into the generative AI. And I really want to caution this ahead of time. So much that can be done, but you just can't go and put material information. Now, there's ways I'm going to help you show that you can work around that without putting the actual material information. But I just want to caution that. So what we did is we looked at 3 key areas of how we could build some tools for, and product for the earnings. And I guess the first one was the earnings script, which takes so much time to do, and you have to start. And so what we did was we trained our generative AI tool to look at the published analyst estimates. So this is all public information. It's out there for you to use. And so that we took that data ahead of time as we use that instead of putting our actual financials in. And then we took our past company announcements for the quarter and we put a prompt engineering to create that earnings script template. And it used the actual script using from the IRO, the CEO, the CFO, and we were able to create that output to the actual same style. So it was really cool of how much we were able to do. I would say we probably saved about 60% in building our script of the time that it would have taken me in the past. And then from that, I was able to look at developing a Q&A. And I would say this was really fascinating because it was taking the analyst questions, not only from my past earnings calls, but from past earnings calls of my peers. And so it was really honing in as to what the analysts are looking for and what they're presently looking for in the current environment. So I was able to create that, and that saved me, wow, probably 80% of time in drafting that for the team. And then from that, we were able to really take, which is so critical in earnings today, is to look at what are the web traffic that is out there and understand who's coming onto my website. What are the email notifications? Who are people attending my past events? And we really made sure that for our earnings call that we were targeting these people and making sure that they were participating on our actual event. Jamie, next slide. So what we did, and this is what breaks it down, is we prepared our template. Now, I'll just give you context. This was our past earnings results, which took place at the beginning of August. So this is the Q2 results. So what we wanted to do is create a template, and we took our past 4 earnings scripts, starting with Q1 that was previously, all the way up to the year before of Q2. We then used ChatGPT 3.5 template refiner. And from that, we were able to build our earnings script template. And from that, it was able to set everything up for the call. Next slide. So what we wanted to do was to prepare now the content for that. Now we had our template, and now how do we do that? So we took the past quarter results, because that was quite relevant. And then we took the financial results that were actual from the Q2 results. So we put that as the base comparing of the forecast to the last year results. And then what was really helpful was we had a summary press release of all the ones we did for the past quarter. And so that made my job so easy in writing up the quarterly press release in all the different operational highlights, everything that we had announced throughout the quarter. And from that, we looked at our blog posts, and what was really interesting was scraping LinkedIn. By doing that, we were really able to see all the different activities that spread out throughout Q4, a big company that's got so many different things happening. And that really provided a tremendous amount of content and for the text that I was using. And then again, as mentioned, we took the analyst consensus. We did not use the actual Q2 financial results. We took consensus data. And from that, next slide, Jamie, we were able to then create a template, which essentially was 3 templates of our beating the forecast, meeting our forecast, and missing the forecast. And from that, we were able to take the different statements that I wanted to do based on the actual results. So I took that data in, and then from that, I was able to tweak and make the relevant changes internally, not using ChatGPT. And that, as I said, it saved me about 60% of what could have been. And if you see the next slide, you'll see that it was, that slide there. We were able to really use the Q4 proprietary data, and this is in beta of developing AI. And so what was really exciting was we were able to, draft that of the script, and this is what, came up as I was working. As well, I was able to get a summary script. So that was really interesting for doing it. And if you just go to the next slide there, that we were able to develop our transcript, we were able to develop the questions and Q&A, and then we were able to really understand that the motivations that analysts were really looking at. Efficient, effective, it made the process so much seamless for me to do. And as I said, it probably saved me 60% of time. Next quarter, I'm really excited to refine that process with the team and make it even more effective, and looking forward to updating our listeners with the next phases in the future of IR using AI.
Thank you so much, Ed. That's really exciting what you're doing. So I really appreciate you sharing that with everyone.
My pleasure.
I'd like to move now to the questions and answers part of the presentation. Looks like we do have a question that came in. And the question is, can you speak more to why incorporating video into earnings calls is so valuable? And I'll take that one. So when you think about an earnings call and you think about, you're trying to get your message out to investors, you're trying to parlay exactly what it is that you're trying to say. And I just think that in order to do that, the best way to do it is on video. I mean, you could do it in person if possible, but I don't think that's realistic. But being able to show the body language, and especially if you have a CEO who's great on camera, being able to put them out front and get that messaging, I think is really valuable. Ed, was there anything that you wanted to add from your perspective on that?
Yeah, I think the key word is transparency. And so for us, we really at Q4 want the transparency to showcase how we're answering those questions, the body language. And what was really interesting, Jamie, was that we had a whole bunch of analysts that started coming on, and we had a new analyst and more younger analyst, and he came right on to the camera, and so that really got the other analysts to come on, and so the whole process was transparent from the management team to the analysts, and so it really makes the audience want to come in and attend the actual session.
Thanks, Ed. That's really helpful. I don't know if there was any other questions. I don't think so. So with that, I wanted to thank everyone for joining today. As always, we really appreciate your attendance. For more information about anything that we spoke today, please feel free to reach out to any of the panelists, including myself, or q4inc.com.